Hello there, everyone. Good morning. Patricia Hayes here with your Coffee Time Career Chat. Super excited to be here on this last Monday of the month. Yay. Moving right along into the end of the year. For those of you who are joining for the very first time, welcome. Once again, my name is Patricia Hayes. I am an executive advisor, empowerment coach, and authentic networking strategist. And what that means is I love working with people who are looking to up-level themselves in their lives through their careers and their business, and to be and feel more empowered, actually be more empowered in the actions that they take, especially when it comes to leveraging the professional relationships that they have in an authentic and purposeful manner. So, that said, we are finishing up our Harvest Time series today. It has been a good discussion, a little spin on the Harvest Time Challenge that I normally run at the end of the year, but kind of sharing it with you all in a slightly different way through these coffee chats this month. So I hope that you've enjoyed them. And if you've missed out, no worries. You can go back through the feeds, or really easy, just go check out the YouTube channel, and you will be able to find it. Just go check on our website, patriciavhayes.com, and you will be able to access all of the social media feeds. All right, so let's jump right in here because I have some other stuff I want to share with you as well. As we finish up this conversation about what it means to really harvest your relationships and the efforts that you've been putting into building your career and your business over the course of this year, we've talked about several different things, right? First, we've talked about the planting time that's involved and how you have to make investments of time and resources. And what you're really doing is looking at how you've done that over the course of this past year so that you can repeat those things that worked well and remove those things that did not in the coming year or in the months ahead. Okay. So looking at how you've been investing your time and money and resources in order to really start to build up those relationships that you have that will support you in all that you do. Secondly, we talked about watering your seedlings. I mean, hello, how obvious can this be? If you're literally using this as an analogy with growth of plants and harvest and food items and all of that, the you have to feed the product. Like, you have to water it. You have to make sure it has enough sunlight. You have to make sure that you protect it from, dangerous conditions, right? And so, hello there. I can't see who you are, so make sure and comment in the feed, okay? But the other thing is you have to water it. What does that mean? And taking that analogy to your professional relationships, it means you have to nurture your connections. You have to nurture your network. I talk about this all the time, and I feel like I'm a broken record, but then I see people doing the complete opposite on a regular basis. So clearly, I haven't said it enough because it hasn't spread out there like I would like for it to. So I'm going to keep talking about it. You have to nurture your network. That means there's work involved. And I think that's the thing that scares people away. Number one, it's the misconception about what networking is, right? But secondly, is realize that it's not just show up to a couple of happy hours and call it a day. You have to nurture the relationships that you find valuable, that you want to build out and build on. Okay. So it's not a one and done. You have to feed it. You have to reach out to people. You have to continue to do certain things. So we're going to get a little bit more into that again here today. The other thing is you have to do the follow up. Again, one of my huge networking strategies that is so simple and yet commonly overlooked, right? Is just to do the follow up. If you say, hey, let's call, I'm going to reach out to you so we can schedule coffee. then do it. If you tell someone, oh, you know what, I saw this article, let me send it over to you, then do it. Or if it's just a simple, hey, it was great seeing you at the event the other day, and writing a little note saying, look forward to following up again soon, then do it. I framed this conversation when we had it last week in terms of that follow-up prevents career spoilage or your business. And what do I mean by that? When you see a fruit, have you ever seen a fruit tree that's like overproducing, and so much so that there's fruit falling on the ground and there are limbs that are touching the ground, and then there's literally fruit or vegetables or whatever it is, but start to spoil on the ground just because it hasn't been cared for, hasn't been taken up? Exact same thing. Exact same thing. And I know this from, real-time experience, both in terms of the relationship building, but in terms of we used to have a pear tree at one of our houses. And when it was in full production, oh my gosh, like you could not get it up fast enough, right? And so I would love to leave some for some of the animals that would come through the yard or whatever, nature and all of that. But it's like pulling it up and sharing it with others. That's what I would do. And like people would start to expect, you're like, hey, is that pear tree producing for you? Imagine if you do this with your professional relationships, that you are making sure that you are not leaving things to spoil on the ground, to spoil opportunities, to pick up those things that even if they don't benefit you directly, you share out with your network. And you keep doing that enough that times that people are like, hey, Trisha, just checking in. You always keep a good eye on things. Anything, have you heard anything lately? I literally down through the years have gotten calls from people about the strangest things, right? And I would be like, so what made you ask me about that? And they're like, what are you talking about? You're always seem to be in the know. You're always exploring stuff. So my first choice is to call you and just see what Patricia knows first. Literally, I've gotten that call, that conversation numerous times, because that's what I do. It's a part of what I do. I'm not always looking for opportunities just for what they can offer me. I'm looking for things that look interesting. And I'm like, who do I know that can benefit from this? Okay. So when you do that, that's what we're talking about and preventing that spoilage, right? We're not going to let opportunities just go to waste on the ground, or in our careers or in our businesses because it doesn't affect us. Bad move. All right. Bad move. So that brings us to our discussion today about maintaining that momentum and doing so for the long term, right? So we're talking about having a harvest and having, what is it? I'm going to lose my analogy here in a second, but having fields that have been properly cared for so that they can continue to reproduce down through the years. I think I covered that pretty well. All right. That's what we're talking about here in terms of our professional relationships, for building out our careers, for building out our businesses. Heck, for building out the things we want to do personally to achieve our personal goals for ourselves. Okay. These things apply across the board, but it requires you also to take some action and to do some things. The first thing that I always remind people that you have to do is you have to take a periodic assessment of where you are and what you're doing. Okay. So, in terms of this harvest time thing, it's like this is that time of year. I always recommend it. When you go back, you sit back and you take some reflection time and to assess, like, literally, what is it that you did? What is it that was really productive, that was really successful, or something that you did that you weren't expecting to be successful, but it worked? And what you're going to do with that information is move it forward into your next year, the next few months, whatever you want to, however you want to label the time frame. But the point is, you want to really target those things that worked, that are replicable, okay, and that you can do over and over again. All right. And then those things that didn't work so well, or you're like, well, that was a bust. I thought that that organization or joining that or being a part of that was going to be more productive. Then make a full assessment and informed decision about removing it or adjusting it. Okay, we're talking about adjustments in just a second. So those are the things. That's definitely what to do. You want to first assess your input, assess your strategy moving forward by looking back on what it is that you were doing, what did work, and what if there's some things that you didn't do last year, right? Excuse me, that you didn't do this year, but worked the previous year, right? It doesn't hurt to take that look back, not just 1 year, but maybe two, right? And since we've had, the pandemic and all of that, some of us may need to go back a few years because now as we start to re-engage publicly in person and with this hybrid manner of engagement, that we need to remember those things that worked for us, a few years ago. Okay. So take that time. It is absolutely worth it. I'm going to do it. I do a really in-depth when I sit down to look at it. I literally sit down with, and I don't have my notebook here, but I sit down with either one of my journals or a legal pad, and I take my calendar, I take my social media feed, because there are things that will end up in my feed that I said, hey, check this out, that I forgot about or whatever. So get all your tools together, right? All your platforms, and do an in-depth review. And so I do. I just sit down. I was thinking about it last night. I'm like, oh, because I kind of get excited trying to think about these things and to take that look back. And I do it by month, right? So I start at the beginning of the year and I go through it to say what things happened that month that I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. Well, that's cool, right? And then also at the same time, you're like, oh, yeah, I wanted to do that. I didn't do that. Just make a note of those things, right? And take yourself through the entire year. And then before you know it, you are probably going to have some things that you definitely forgot about happened. It happens every year for me. And that you're like, oh, crud, I forgot to follow up and do those things. So again, things you can follow up. You have a working document now in order to take you through and figure out what were those things that really fed, that were really productive in terms of supporting your goals for your career and your business, that you can now decide if it's something that you can replicate, that you can duplicate, that you can, build on moving forward, or if you need to do the next thing we're going to talk about, which is number 2, make adjustments as needed. All right. Here's the thing. Things happen. I mean, it's just the reality. Life happens. Okay. So you have to make sure that you give yourself grace for those things, because as much as we might want something to go a certain way, life happens and it doesn't happen. Perfect example for me is this fall was rough for me from a health perspective in terms of I just kept getting these numerous respiratory illnesses, right? Not the virus, it has nothing to do with that. I was getting, nasty allergy, infections and just all kinds of stuff, right? So I spent a lot of time focused on recovering and getting better. And one of the programs that I wanted to put out did not happen. And I was really worked up about that at first. But guess what? An adjustment is in progress. Because as I was doing that and keeping moving forward, which we're going to talk about as well, as I learned about this other way to deliver content that clicked for me. And I'm like, oh my God, this is how I can still honor my commitment to delivering this content and making sure it gets out there. So that's what I've done. I've made a major adjustment in how I'm going to deliver the content that I'm talking about. This is that 5 steps to career success. It's still coming, y'all. In any economy, let me say it, 5 steps to career success in any economy, keep an eye out. that I'm making an adjustment and I'm still going to put that content out. It's being adjusted so that it can be delivered in the new year. Okay. The adjustments have to happen all through the year. I want you to take a look and I want you to label your next little section is what are the adjustments? Okay. What are the where are the things? Because really what you're going to really look at is what went wrong, right? So where's the what went wrong category? And it's not so much as in like what you did wrong. Let's not do that. So we're not doing the blame game with ourselves, but what went wrong? And when you ask that question, the next one is, what did you do in response to that? That's where you're going to get your adjustment. That's where you're going to discover what you did to adjust. Sometimes, oftentimes, we make adjustments without even thinking about it. It's just in the heat of the moment, we're like, oh my God, I can't believe that, just happened, switch. Okay. And then you keep going and you never go back to evaluate what it was you actually did that then helped you to move forward or, created a new or different level of success. Who knows? Ask the what went wrong and then look for the action that happened next. That is your adjustment. Okay. And I want you to, keep track of those. What are all those adjustments? Because while it may be true that the thing that went wrong may not happen again, what will happen again is the need to make an adjustment. So it's not the what went wrongs that you want to keep track of. It's the adjustments you made in response, because those can be duplicated, used again in some fashion or whatever. That's what you want to look for, and look for where the successes and not so successful things happen as a result. Okay. Really important. And that's why I said this is not blow through, hurry up and be done. Like, this is sit down and think time. Like, I call it thought time. It's really, really valuable. Okay. So when you do that and you make that assessment, you're assessing all of those things that happened that you're like, yay, what were your wins? What were the things that looked great? What did you do? And then let's talk about what went wrong, and then start looking for the adjustments that were made in response, the actions that you were taking. And those are the adjustments that we're talking about. Okay. And those are things you're going to carry forward, making those adjustments as needed. As you're also looking to maintain momentum and for the long term with regard to all of these wonderful things and all of these opportunities that have come your way, opportunities and people. Yes. The third thing is to remember to keep going. Now, how does that fit in with this whole harvest time thing, right? You're like, what do you mean? Harvests don't, quote, keep going. Yes, they do. And they're adjustments to these things. They are a compilation of the things we've talked about. When they're keeping going, that includes, assessing where you may need to an adjustment with how much contact you have with someone, right? So maybe you're seeking a new position or something has happened, and so there are a group of people you're not interacting with as much anymore. That doesn't mean cut them off, right? That's what people do so often when they change jobs, whatever. It is a huge mistake to cut yourself off from people in your past business or careers. All right. You take make some informed decisions, informed assessments about those folks that you want to actively maintain connection with versus those that you'll still maintain connection, but maybe more loosely, right? Maybe you'll save those just for the social events or where, people gather up saying, hey, a group of us are getting together, from the old gang, right? Versus those that you're going to keep on that active list, which is, I am making sure that I reach out to this person once per month, once per quarter. Okay. Those are distinctions. And this is what I call tiering your contacts, tiering your network, right? This is not a who's better than who type of tiering, right? This is on based on where you are and where you want to go and how those relationships can support you moving forward in doing that, as well as the folks that you're moving in the same spaces with or that you have moved with. Okay. Some things will naturally fall off. It happens. This is something personally that I've always struggled with, right? Because especially if I really connected with someone and it falls off, well, you have to remember, just like you're making shifts and changes, other people are making shifts and changes as well. So don't take it personally. Most of the time, like 99% of the time, we should not take those things personally. And the 1% where we might, is probably not worth the effort. It's not worth the effort. Okay. Take it from me. Been there, done that a bunch of times. It's not worth the effort. So don't let the, really it is smaller negative thing take away from the really fruitful activities and relationships and opportunities that have built up. Okay, keep going. Take those things, figure out where they are, where they fit into where you're moving next in the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months. If you're doing a long-term strategic plan, 3 years, 5 years, knowing that things adjust greatly. Okay. So, and if you're one of those people that likes to plan out more than a year, but you struggle with it, we need to have a consult and we can talk about doing that high level strategic planning for your career and your business, but then how you funnel it down for the things that need to get done in the next, an immediate future. And here's the thing, you get to define what that is, right? For some people, the long-term strategic plan is, 12 to 18 months out, right? And short-term is 3 or 6 versus the person who's like, no, I got a 3-year plan, or I want a 3-year plan, and then back into it. So don't buy into only one thing works, right? You get to set the terms for it, right? So I do a lot of strategic planning consulting, right? When we're talking about that, it looks different for everyone. There are some small nonprofits that I work with. They just need me to come in and facilitate a half-day, process in order to get their juices going, deliver that content, help them move on. Others, like, we need a little bit more. We need a full day. We need a little direction about where to head next, right? And so that gets written up in a report, something that they can, feed on and build on. And then there are those, like, one of my clients that I'm working with now, they're like, no, we are in a major overhaul, rebuild. And so I'm literally working with them on a year-long contract to help facilitate them through every step of the strategic planning process, right? So that they can get all the input that they really want. They can get a lot more in-depth strategy and conversations going that can filter back up to build into the 3-year plan that they are working on. Okay? All nonprofits, different sizes, different staffs, all of that. But the point is, there's more than one way to get it done. Same thing for you. The outline may look the same, but what you do is different. I am still the same person who's facilitating all of these conversations, but what I'm doing with each of them looks completely different. Okay? And making those adjustments to help them is what benefits them in their growth and their plans. Same thing for you with your personal growth, your career growth, your business growth. All right? Anyone who just says, well, no, you need to do 1, 2, 3, and that's it. No, run. They can say, okay, here's generally we would do 1, 2, 3. But we're going to talk a little bit more about how this fits with you, because if 2 doesn't work for you, then we need to make an adjustment. Okay. Keep going. Keep making the investments. Keep tilling that soil. Do not stop. This is where people fall down the most, is they stop doing the work. And guess what happens? It's called when you're going to have a fallow field or whatever, when they're not, it's a field that's deliberately being left to rest. That's different. Deliberate rest with a particular strategy, a particular group of people, whatever, that's different because you're doing something in order to build it up for the next time that you need to, plant those seeds. That's different than just letting it go. When you just let it go, then the weeds come in, the spoilage happens, and or you lose those relationships. And what happens? You have to start over. And most of us do not like doing that. I know. It's super annoying for me. So I try to limit when that happens. Okay. So that's it. If you're looking to maintain the momentum for the long term with all of your efforts that you've engaged in this year to build a better harvest for your professional relationships, whether you're shifting in your careers, whether you're stretching in your business, whatever it looks like, make sure you do these 3 things. Take some in-depth assessment of your input and strategy from those things that were wins this year. Make sure you make adjustments as needed by taking a look at the things that didn't go so well, but what was the action that you took to shift? And then lastly, keeping a plan, making a plan for making sure that you continue to move forward, right? What are the actions you are going to continue to take so that you don't slow down or that you don't lose your way, okay? And when you do that and you're doing this in a very informed, very, aware manner, this is how you build that momentum and you keep it going long term. All right. Okay, let's see. I don't see any questions in there. Thanks for tuning in with me today. I love it. Lots of great things coming your way. We are putting out couple of different things. First is the 12 days of holiday networking guide is getting ready to get posted. You will be able to purchase that. It's a perfect little thing, a little reminder of what you can do every day over the course of the holidays in order to connect and build those relationships in a way that works for you during this very chaotic and crazy time. So if you're interested in that, keep an eye out for it. Info should be going up with it in the link today, or just DM me and I'll make sure and send it to you. Then we also make sure that I don't like that Black Friday thing. I tried it once or twice. So I decided to instead, after talking with my mastermind group that I love, plug for the Accelerated Business Alliance, is that I decided to do some end of the year bundles, okay? So that you will be able to pick and choose, which thing works for you. So whether if it's like, I really need a refresher on how to build out my network and those types of things. So maybe it's going to be the 30-day challenge plus the diversifying your professional, network program that I did almost not quite 2 years ago. It's chock full of great content and maintaining your professional relationship, maximizing your professional relationships by, when you're attend conferences and workshops and things like that. So that's a bundle by itself. Then you can say, you know what, I really need some time to talk with Patricia, but it's just, minimum. So you can schedule a power hour where you will get me one-on-one for 60 minutes plus those 3 things. And that's its own bundle. Or if you're like, no, I am really ready to dive in and let's make this happen. So there is a VIP, a 2-hour, I think 2 or 3 hour VIP, VIP intensive that's bundled with those first 3 things as well. And that will allow you to work longer term with me, or more intensely, not longer term, but more intensely, so that you can be up and running for the beginning of the new year. Okay. So those things are coming for right now, as well as the things that are coming forward in the new year that I will be sharing. So keep an eye out. Please share, share, share. And thanks again. If you have any questions or comments, please share them. I check all of the DMs and I check the comments on all the socials. So I will follow up with you if I see something that's plugged there. Meanwhile, have a fantastic start to your week, and I will check in with you guys later. Take care. Bye bye.